Hi, Church. Pastor Jeff here, and
Sophie Cunningham.
with a Trinity update. A Trinity check-in, this time with an update from annual conference. We just came back. Sophie is the church's lay delegate now, as elected by our lay leadership committee and church conference. A lot of people like you, apparently.
Some of them.
But before we actually do that, we had a big happening at the church yesterday, and I want you all to see it. So you may know that we've been putting columbaria, that is the proper plural of columbarium, by the way, columbaria in. These are places for ashes to reside after someone passes away. And they weigh, I think, was it 4,000 pounds? Is that what the email said?
A lot.
Yeah, so we called Michael up, and he couldn't lift it. And so we brought in an excavator. And lifted them into place, and it is absolutely beautiful out there. I know the next step is for Eric Nelson to come out and do some plants and landscaping around it, and I cannot wait to see it in all its glory. But if you're around, check it out. It is beautiful. Soon you're going to be hearing more details about how to purchase niches to put ashes in. I know that there are people waiting to get in. We will also, I mean that, there are people waiting to get in. And there's also pavers, the bricks on the ground, as another way to do a memorial or in honor of somebody. So you'll be hearing all about that soon. Our main topic today, though, is annual conference and everything that happened there. And my favorite way to say, so this was my 20th annual conference.
Congratulations.
Do I get an award?
I didn't know that. Yeah, you should have.
Well, they did do a thing. Okay.
You got a piece of cake.
True, there was cake. It's also the 10th anniversary since we merged conferences with Nebraska, Kansas East, and Kansas West. But this is Sophie's first time at annual conference, and it's neat to see things kind of through her eyes. And I thought we might talk through some of the big things that happened. We'll try not to go too long here, but I should let you go first.
Yeah, so there were lots of updates from various committees and groups throughout annual conference.
You should know that annual conference so it's all the churches, all the United Methodist churches in Nebraska and Kansas together. We have shared ministries like camps, campus ministries, there's some hunger ministries, justice ministries. So that's part of what we do. Mm-hmm. And we heard reports on all those things.
Reports on all of those things. We had a few worship services together. That we started with the memorials and baptisms, which was very special. And then we got a special message from the youth representative. She delivered a message during one of the worship services that was really very lovely.
She really ate it up.
She ate that up. And
had to be there.
Then we had a worship service at the conclusion for all of the ordinations. And that was like the big one on Sunday. That was really cool.
That was cool. And ordination is always a significant service, and the other various steps other than ordination that are also celebrated. But an old tradition from Kansas East was brought back this time, and that is to have all the clergy robe. So, like all good clergy, our first reaction is, you mean I have to take my robe in a suitcase and then we all get lined up, and it is truly special. Mm-hmm. The procession went through all 7 verses of "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing."
With how many people?
Yeah.
About were there? Like 1,400 people, probably.
Something like that.
And a big organ.
Oh, but wait, we went through all 7 verses of "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing," and then went through all 7 verses of "Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing" again. And then what did we make it to, about 3 or 4 on the third time through before all the clergy were in? It's a lot of people.
It's a lot, yeah.
And to celebrate that, when else are all the clergy together, robed up, kind of in the mode on a Sunday morning? Even it was a special time.
It was very special, and everybody knew all the words.
You know, it's interesting when you have all clergy and top lay people. I don't like how that sounds.
I'd say maybe especially dedicated.
Especially dedicated lay people. Everybody sings at their top. Like, how did you experience the singing itself?
Yes, that was like. Probably one of the most special moments was congregational singing is already one of my favorite things to experience, and that specifically, it's the old songs that everybody already knows, and all singing together. You can hear
every person giving it their all.
Everyone is singing lustily and without reservation. Is that
is from John Wesley's introduction to our hymnal. before anybody gets the wrong idea. Blame Wesley. No. So, okay. So what were some of the business things? So we had an update from our General Conference delegates?
Yes, there were lots of updates from General Conference, lots of very important, big updates from General Conference. The biggest of those being the language changes made to the social principles in the Book of Discipline. All of the restrictive language concerning LGBTQ plus people in the church was removed. So all of the language talking about marriage, the phrase that homosexuality is incompatible with Christian teachings, all of those were taken out.
Gone from our documents.
Just completely removed.
Amen to all that. It's about time.
There will be a new revised social principles that's completely rewritten, which is the first time that the social principles have been updated in 50 years. All of those came through, were overwhelmingly approved by the delegation at General Conference. I think
and so no more restrictions on clergy for when it comes to marriage ceremonies?
Yeah, either performing same-gendered weddings or engaging in same-gendered relationships themselves. There's no longer any penalty for clergy. And
no bar against ordination for that. So inclusion, full inclusion. Now, some might push back just a little bit on the term full inclusion because we're also not requiring.
Yes.
We do want to be a big tent where all people are welcome, including people who aren't there yet, who disagree on that. And so no clergy and no church is required to do weddings for LGBTQ, but all may. That's where we are now. And it's a huge, huge step, bigger than anybody thought we'd be able to take this fast.
Yes.
I know that sounds funny, but we're the church, right?
And
we don't move fast.
I think because of that, at this annual conference specifically, like the vibes were really good. People were really excited. People were coming off of that high from the news from General Conference, really excited about making progress and making changes.
Okay, yeah, we got to keep this moving.
Sorry, yeah.
But the other big thing from General Conference, which you've already heard if you watch all of these videos, but a regionalization plan to help better equalize things between the U.S. and the rest of the world in our denomination. It requires a constitutional amendment, so all the annual conferences have to have a 2/3 vote, and it was too soon before ours to have the paperwork ready, so our vote will actually be next year on that. Let's see, what else? We had one of the neat things, our team, our youth were at Lydia Patterson Institute just last week, and the president of Lydia Patterson was here at our annual conference.
Yes.
So we traded for a little while, but it was neat to hear from her. One of the things they're doing now is that they're able to offer full scholarships, which is a first for them, and it's wonderful. Lydia Patterson trains is a high school, but really better called a college preparatory school, where students come across the border. Some of them come across the border every single day to go there, but now there's no cost. We also have a board member from our conference that's on there, Stephanie Allsweet, who has a history here at Trinity too.
Yes, and they were very excited to report 100% graduation rates, and 98% of this past graduating class is moving on to some form of higher education. And a lot of those were able also to receive scholarships to attend Methodist institutions.
Yep, that's La Lydia, as they call it, La Lydia. So, we had a budget. The budget for the conference is down lower by 9.13%, which is a big reduction. That is largely due to the disaffiliations, the churches that have left. I believe the number came in around 25% of the churches that left, but they were disproportionately very small churches. So our budget is actually down only a little more than 9%. And most of that is then cushioned by the larger denomination, which reduced their budget by even more than that. So the effect on our conference ministries from disaffiliations is not much at all. And there was fear about that, so it's nice to see. let's see. You want to talk about redistricting? No, maybe, or should I?
I
I'll do that. I'll do that, and then you can do the apology.
I have the map here.
Okay. So most people probably don't care how we district ourselves as a conference, but it is a big deal. So if any of you who are involved in United Women of Faith or any district ministries, Connection Point here in Lincoln is a district ministry, it matters to some extent. To clergy, it probably matters more. But we are in the process of redistricting to try to be more efficient with our administration and our use of district superintendents. So again, not the most fun thing to talk about. However, it does make us, it will allow us to operate better as a church. All right, the apology.
Yeah, one of the big things at the conclusion of one of the business sessions was that the bishop and the church as a whole offered a formal apology to victims of sexual misconduct within the church. And as part of that, we all partook in a prayer of confession together, accepting the responsibility, making an apology for all of our parts in the harm that the church as a whole has caused, whether that is the actual abuse that people have suffered or the voices that we have not listened to in the past, or the people who feel like they are silenced and can't speak up about the abuse that they have suffered.
And apologies who weren't involved enough to have caught such things sooner.
Yes. For allowing it to go on, not listening when we need to, all of those things. It was a very powerful, special moment for the larger group as a whole, I think.
One interesting conversation that you and I had just a few minutes ago, actually, is I couldn't quite understand what Sophie meant there at first when she was talking to me, and I realized that what she meant was that it impressed, was moving to you, or however you want to say it, that the entire body did the apology. It wasn't just the bishop issuing a statement or something like that. And I didn't get what she meant at first, because I'm like, well, of course, that's how we do things. But that's not how most people do things. So that I suppose that says something for who we are as a church, that is the norm for us to do such things together. But that's overdue. We haven't had nearly we haven't had anywhere close to the level of sexual misconduct as other denominations have seen, yet still it's important to recognize and to have done that formal apology.
And that the apology was long and far-reaching and very specific and listed all of the different ways that we as a church have caused harm, and overall I think was a very healing experience.
So my favorite definition of annual conference, my favorite description is that it's one part revival, that was the worship service, one part business meeting, and one part family reunion. And I know there were lots of times where I probably left Sophie in the dust because I saw some clergy friend that I hadn't seen in a while.
And I
lay
made
people
new
from my last church. Yeah, we took it. So the last church I was a pastor of before coming here, we had, oh gosh, it feels like 20 people go into ministry and become pastors. No, it wasn't that many. What did depending on how you counted, it was four to six, depending, because some ended up doing that after. So if you ever go to Hutchinson, Kansas, don't drink the water. That's the first thing. But they're also amazing people, and I walked with them. I got to walk with them on part of that journey, and we all went out to dinner and brought Sophie along and a couple other lay people too. And those kinds of reconnecting are a big part of what it's about too. And it reminds you of the Trinity doesn't stand alone. None of us do. We as individuals don't stand alone. We are connected. And I think because of that, some of my favorite moments of annual conference every year are the things like, now I know this will sound a little bit funny, and I hope not dark, but the memorial service and when we have votes to close churches. Not that I like those things as they are, but they're the times where the entire room comes to a different kind of focus, to pray for those that we've lost, and to recognize the history and the ministry and all that God has done through the churches that are closing. There's something about the mood in the room when that happens that also reaffirms, those of us that are still going. So, anything else?
I also really enjoyed the laity sessions that I got to experience.
Yeah, I missed that. I was in the
Yeah,
clergy session.
I
Tell us
got to
about
go
it.
out. Well, it was just really, really wonderful, I think, to connect with other lay members who take their positions very seriously with great reverence, and who shared their thoughts on what parts of their churches are important to them and what they love about the United Methodist Church as a whole, and all of those things. Not that you aren't a great teacher and I don't love learning from you, but it was really special for me to get to connect with other lay people and also learn from them. That was an exceptional opportunity I felt like I had.
It's awesome. All right, next year's is going to be in Salina, Kansas. We try to move it around the conference as much as we can, though not many places have a facility large enough to hold us. We try our best. In the meantime, I hope you all, those of you that have watched this to the end, feel that you're part of the connection too, because you are. And connection is how we usually say it, the connection. We are connected. That's who we are as individuals, as Christians, and certainly as the United Methodist Church. So I didn't think about how we were going to end this. Here, say something.
I'm annual conference Barbie.
There were stickers. I'm annual conference Barbie. Yeah.
Yeah, well, or I think we really ate that up. That's the other.
Yeah, okay. Now we're into the inside. So it was interesting to me how many clergy and ministry related Barbie t-shirts there were around too.
People really love Barbie. The Barbie
It's a
Renaissance
statement.
continues. Yeah.
If you haven't seen the movie, do and know that it's everywhere. All right. It's good to see you, church. Come see the Columbaria, and we will see you soon.